And we are live. All right. So I just want to jump right into the topic. I know I haven't done a Google Hangout in a long time, but I think this was, or at least I thought this would be a very good topic to, I guess, break the ice or come back to from my, I guess you could say, long vacation from YouTube. And so, with that being said, as the title of the video says, Neil deGrasse Tyson has been accused of rape. And no, as far as I can tell, this is not um a rumor. This is legit. The person, I'm not sure if they pressed charges yet, but I want to read the article in more detail and jump into it. So this article is from Science 2.0 .com, and it reads off and it says Neil deGrasse Tyson, an astrophysicist I and many other astrophysicists look up to. So this is written from the perspective of somebody who's an astrophysicist. His name is Hantis Farmer. He says, I and many other astrophysicists look up to has been accused of rape by Tachia Ahmet, who was a student at UT Austin at the time that Neil deGrasse Tyson was a graduate student, saying her, oh, I guess it was teaching her astronomy 101. As if that wasn't awful enough, Tachia Ahmet lived with it for 30 years. Then, when she comes forward with a blog post about it, her story is met with over a year of solid, uh, deafening silence. Oh, so her story is met with over a year of solid silence. That this has occurred and that the response to it has varied from very little support to outright hostility is what I find most disturbing. Until I say otherwise, I'm going to suspend my principal belief that the accused must be treated as innocent until proven guilty. As on Astro SH have insisted that no one ever lies about sexual harassment, assault, sexist acts, or anything sexual for the sake about blah blah blah. And then he says something in parentheses. Uh, the accusation against Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it goes off, and this is a quote from Tachia. So I'm about to read a quote from Tachia. In case you missed it, I was a grad student in astronomy at UT Austin the same time that Mr. Tyson was there. I was studying galactic astronomy with the D vocal years. I don't know if I pronounced it right. My dream was to become the first black female astronaut. I was like 15 years ahead of Emma May Jameson. I went to his apartment, talking about Neil. I went to his apartment to visit like I did almost every day. He was like my big brother, or so I thought. He offered me a glass of water. I accepted a liquid in a cup made out of coconut shell. I recall coming back to consciousness briefly. Then, uh, next thing I remember is seeing him in the hallway the next day. I have lived in this nightmare for 30 years today. Tachia Ahmet. This was October 2014. Quoted verbatim. Says the guy writing the article, he says, this sounds just like what Bill Cosby was accused of, and his accusers are more or less uniformly believed in the popular press and by the general public. The overall story is very plausible. That was something young men did way too often. My mother still reminds me to watch my drink when I go out with anyone. Blah, blah, blah. Tachia Ahmet accepted a seemingly uh, innocuous cup of water from her host, didn't trust it. Then he violated the trust in her body. Blah, 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 blah. And go on. I'll link the article so you guys can read it. But what are my opinions on it? Um, I don't honestly know what to believe as of now. And I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I wouldn't say I really look up to him. He's a great voice in the scientific community, great astrophysicist, like I always say. A lot of astrophysicists who tend to lean on the atheist spectrum make very good scientists. very bad theologians and philosophers, coming from an atheist perspective. But with that being said, because that's just my own personal opinion on that, I will say in the case of Bill Cosby, it's a little different because this lady she quoted it in like 2014, so it's 2017 now, 15, 16, 17, 3 years. So in the case of Bill Cosby, when that one woman spoke out, there were other accusers who also spoke out. And we usually see this in a lot of different real, you could say, conspiratorial cases, like for example with Kent Hovind. Um the one lady, Deborah Henderson, spoke out on my channel, and General Han Solo and I interview her, and after she speaks out, then we have other people coming out of the woodwork saying that Kent Hovind is a cult leader, Kent Hovind is this, Kent Hovind is that. And we have a whole plethora of other witnesses who come forward when that one witness or speaks out. And so, what I would expect if these allegations are legitimate, you would see more victims coming out of the woodworks. Now, there could be no other victim. She could be the only one. The only one. Um, that makes her allegations that much more harder to believe because we don't have much of anything to go off of. But if there are other people who come out and say, "Hey, this happened to me too," et cetera, well, then it's more believable because that's what we would expect. And so I don't think we can actually liken Neil deGrasse to the likes of Bill Cosby. Honestly, in my opinion, um, maybe this woman is making all of this stuff up. I mean, that could be the case. She could be making this stuff up. I mean, stuff like this happens very often. What about that football player who was accused of rape by that girl? And about what 7 or 8 years later, um, 7 or 8 years later, he he what is it? Oh, yeah, acquitted of the charges because she said he lied. She lied. So stuff like that happens very often, where black men things to women that they just did not do. Um, so until more evidence comes out, we shouldn't say anything. I don't know if he did it or if he didn't do it, but what I will say is, forward, the probability of him having committed the act definitely does go up. It still doesn't. It still doesn't prove that he actually did commit the act. But we would have more of a reason to actually believe her story, Neil's, well, silence. So with that, it's something to look into, but not necessarily something we should obsess over. Maybe she'll take it to court. Maybe she won't. But she obviously does. She obviously would have a motive, being that he's famous and he's making good money now. So why she waited 30 years, uh, and waited until this guy got into the limelight? It could be she was scared. It could be she thought nobody was gonna believe her, or it could be that maybe she's not telling the truth and she wants money. But forward, I all we can really do is just stay tuned. And if he did do something like that, then he's a terrible, horrible person, and we need to throw him in jail and throw away the key. But if he did not do it, then we need to throw her in jail and throw away the key. So all we can really do is just stay tuned and watch out. So until next time, good luck and good night.